Shout out Zay told me one
Drake
time.
at the Versace store.
Yeah. Versace, Medusa head on me like I'm Numinati.
What's going on,
This is a
YouTube?
Goody
Goody Two Shoes back with another video for you guys, and today I am going to be recording another episode of The Wrap. This is going to be my first episode of what I want it to be. Originally, I wanted it to be like a sports talk show online, which would basically be a podcast, which is what I'm going to make it be now. But yeah, it's just going to be a sports podcast talking about new stuff in the sports world and all that good stuff. So right now there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes in this podcast I'll be talking about things that aren't sports related, some things that are like big in the world, like today. I got something I want to talk about that's not in the sports world, but I just want this to be a little more relaxed, a little more low-key, just me chatting with you guys. And one of the things I want to do at some point in this podcast is do like a Q&A, or maybe I'll just do a Q&A on my channel. Not sure, but I want to do a Q&A sometime. But let's get into our topics. Today our topics are the NFL draft. Just concluded right before I started recording this. And then the NBA. There's some NBA news and some playoff stuff. I'm going to talk to you guys about the playoffs. And then I'm just going to kind of talk to you about what I have for the future for this podcast. The first thing I want to start off with, though, is that Views from the Six just dropped yesterday. Yeah, I think yesterday. It's Drake's brand new album, and I gotta tell you guys, I absolutely love it. I have it on Apple Music. I got like a 3-month free subscription that you can cancel anytime, so you better believe I'm canceling after I can find the new album on Spotify or somewhere, so that I don't have to use Apple Music. So yeah, Views just dropped, and I am absolutely loving it. It is my favorite Drake album since Take Care. Take Care will always be my favorite album, but it sometimes reminds me of Take Care, because in Take Care it was but there was a lot of songs that you could tell Drake like poured out from his heart, slower songs, and then there were also some rap songs where it would be like him actually rapping over beats, and then there were other songs that were right in the middle, like him rapping, but he would also do like a singing chorus or whatever. And in Views from the Six, there are a few songs, more songs than he's had on the past couple albums. What a Time to Be Alive, and If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and Nothing Was the Same. So those 3 albums, I thought they were more of like rap albums, especially the latest 2. I wasn't really a fan of If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, and definitely wasn't a huge fan of What a Time to Be Alive, just because I'm not a huge Future fan. But I definitely think that this is a fantastic album. There's some slower songs. Faithful is definitely one of my favorite slower songs. Keep the Family Close is a good slower song. That's just off the top of my head. And then there's 9 and Hype. Those are good songs that are more like rap songs. And then Pop Style is also a very good song. There's just a lot of really good songs on this CD. So I figured I would start off by talking to you guys about that. My next topic is going to be the NFL draft. Like I said, it just concluded, and I'm not at all going to go through every team pick by pick by pick and analyze it all, because that would take forever and it'd be very boring. You don't know everybody. And this wasn't really a draft where there was a lot of like top talent. There were just a lot of mediocre players. So I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the teams that I thought made good drafts and some of the storylines from the draft. So one of the first storylines that is like really not near and dear to my heart, but I have a tie to, is that Keenan Reynolds, who was the quarterback for Navy, got drafted. Why it's so meaningful to me, I guess, would be because my best friend growing up all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, he actually went to the Naval Academy this year for his first year of college, and he's gonna like continue going to the military or to the Naval Academy. So, and that's where Keenan Reynolds was he was at the academy where they have all their sports and everything. So my buddy actually has like seen Keenan Reynolds, and we talk about him all the time. Um, so yeah, I thought it was really cool that he got drafted, and he's kind of one of the guys I like cheer for just because I have a tie to the Naval Academy now. I just thought that was really cool. The thing is that they listed him. Well, the announcement that came out for the ESPN app said that he's the running back, but he was a quarterback at the Naval Academy, or Navy as they just call it for football. And then they listed him on ESPN's website as a wide receiver, and during the draft day special, I think they said that he was a wide receiver just because of the Ravens team needs. That's who he went to, is the Baltimore Ravens. So I thought that was really cool. The next thing is just a bunch of teams that I thought had really good drafts. So the team that I thought had the best all-around draft was the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now I know that is a name that doesn't often come up. In fact, there was a stat the other night during the first round of the draft that said they've been a top 5 pick for the past 5 drafts. So that really surprised me. I do think that they'll break that streak this next year, just because of who they got and how much they did improve last year. But they, in case you guys forgot, Dante Fowler Jr. was their first round pick from last year. He was the 3rd overall pick, tore his ACL on like the first day of summer practices or whatever. So they have him fresh this year. For starters, they basically get 2 top 5 picks this year. And then they took Jalen Ramsey this year in the first round at number 5. I think they had number 5. Jalen Ramsey was supposed to go number 3 to the Chargers, and then people thought if he didn't go there, he'd go to the Cowboys. But he actually ended up falling to the Jaguars, and he was the top cornerback talked about in the draft, and he was one of the top defensive players talked about. They said he's a big, strong, physical corner, and they think that he could help a lot of teams right away. So that's definitely good for the Jaguars because they need a lot of help right away because they aren't one of the top teams in the league, you know. And then they also got Myles Jack, who was projected to be a first round. He was like a top 15, I think. But yeah, he fell all the way to the second round and actually didn't show up for the second round of the draft. He didn't come in. But still just a ton of talent that they got. Even in the second round, they got a first round pick, basically. So they basically have 3 first round picks starting this year for the first time, so being rookies. So I thought that was really good. I think that was the best draft out of any team in the NFL. And I think the second best draft out of anybody was the Buffalo Bills. They had a pretty good defense last year, and their offense struggled a little bit. For one, I always picture scenarios of if I was the coach of that team, I would love to be the coach of that team because of the players that they have there right now or whatever. I just have a certain style that I like and I would like as a coach if I was a coach. I think coaching would definitely be like my dream job, would be a coach of either an NFL team or an NBA team. I think that would be amazing. Even like a college level team, because I think the recruiting trail is awesome. I would love to do recruiting. But anyway, the Bills are just a team that I fall in love with because they have Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, regardless of what any of you guys have to say. I think Tyrod Taylor is I guess I can't say he's one of the best in the league, but he's my favorite in the league. He can run, he can throw. He's just awesome. He doesn't turn the ball over very much, and that's the kind of offense that Rex Ryan wants to run. He wants to run the ball, pound it down your throat, and play not very much passing offense, but when he has to pass the ball, he wants somebody who's not going to turn it over, but can make a lot of throws. So he basically has what he wants in Tyrod Taylor. So anyway, the Bills, they very, very strongly shored up their defense by getting Shaq Lawson in the first round, who's a defensive end from Clemson. He's had a lot of hype this year. Maybe they thought that he would go to the Cowboys, but he didn't. He fell to the Bills later in the draft. In the first round, they took Shaq Lawson. And then the second round, I can't believe that Reggie Ragland fell all the way to the second round, and I was really hoping that my Kansas City Chiefs would pick him up just because we need another linebacker. and he's probably the best linebacker. In my opinion, he's the best linebacker in the draft, and probably one of the best that I've heard in the past couple of years. He went to Alabama, and a lot of the guys on the special, the draft day special, were talking about how he benefited from the front four at Alabama, and at the time that, like, I can see what they're saying by that, but at the same time, um, you can't get all those tackles. You don't make all those tackles if you're not that good, if you're just decent. You don't go to Alabama if you're just decent. So, yes, he had a lot of good players on that defense, but he wasn't like terrible by any stretch of the means. But I think it was a good pick for him. I don't know that he'll start this year, but he'll get a lot of playing time, I think, and he'll be good for that defense. And then the third standout pick that I saw from them was Cardale Jones. A lot of you might have differing opinions of Cardale. Some of you might think he's awesome because he won a national championship for Ohio State. And some of you guys might think he's trash because he didn't perform as well as he should have, or everybody thought he would this past season. But I think backing up Tyrod Taylor, it's perfect. It kind of reminds me of E.J. Manuel. E.J. Manuel is, well, when I thought he wasn't what I thought he would be coming out. He was a bigger quarterback, which is what Cardale is. And so I think if you're in a goal line situation, you use Cardale and you can just punch it in. Obviously, it's not that easy because you have big defensive linemen, whatever. But I think there are certain situations where Cardale could be good in the NFL, especially for the Bills team, who likes to run the ball a lot, who doesn't like to turn the ball over. I just think he'll be a good fit for them. Now, in other terms of the draft, I don't think that these three teams necessarily had, or these four teams didn't necessarily have great drafts, but they're storylines of the draft. So the first storyline would be the Browns. If you didn't know, the Browns had the second overall pick in the draft, and they traded it away for 4 or 5 picks in this draft. From the Eagles, and the Eagles traded up and got Carson Wentz at number 2. The Browns got 14 picks this draft. 5 of them were wide receivers. They really did need to shore up their wide receiver position because Josh Gordon has been suspended for the past year and he's not reinstated yet. Dwayne Bowe was the guy that they signed last year, and he is awful. I'll tell you that as a Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's absolutely awful. He's not going to catch the ball for you. He's not a go-to receiver at all. And then Travis Benjamin, who had a breakout year last year, actually left in free agency, and I think he went to the San Diego Chargers. Not sure, but he did leave in free agency. So that was definitely a need for the Browns, and right away they shored that up in the first round by drafting Corey Coleman, who I think is going to be the next Antonio Brown, and who I think was the best receiver in the draft. I watched him play a lot at Baylor, and just the amount of touchdowns that the guy racked up last year is absolutely insane. And then they also got Emmanuel Ogbah from Oklahoma State. He's a defensive end, and he was just an absolute nightmare on the defensive line last year, and the year before that even too. So Emmanuel Ogbah got him in the first pick of the second round. So that was a steal in the second round. Plus they got Corey Coleman to shore up their wide receiver spot, and 4 other wide receivers actually. So I thought that the Browns had a pretty good draft, and the Browns are a team. Being a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, it makes me want to cheer for the Browns, and especially now that Hugh Jackson's there, I think Hugh Jackson's gonna turn that team around and succeed. And that RG3 is there. That is like my biggest dream, is that RG3 would go to a team and have a chance to start, and he would flourish in an offense. Because I truly believe that RG3 can be a very good quarterback in the NFL, and I don't believe everyone should agree with me that he got the short end of the stick at Washington. Jay Gruden came in and basically said, screw RG3, we're going to play Kirk Cousins. And then in the preseason games, they just threw RG3 in and they let him get sacked, and they blamed it all on RG3. They didn't let him get sacked, obviously, but their offensive line was terrible, so he got sacked a ton of times, and he was always flinching, and a couple times I think he fumbled, and one time he fumbled and nobody even hit him. He just kind of panicked because he felt pressure. But that's what's gonna happen when your offensive line's terrible and they're not helping you out by any means. So I think that RG3 got a raw deal in Washington, and I think he's gonna be very good at the Browns. And I honestly think the Browns are gonna flip it around, probably be a playoff team, and I guess it depends on the division in the NFL, and they are in a tough division. But I do think that they will be a very good team in the next couple years. I don't think they'll be good necessarily this coming year, but they'll definitely improve from last year with RG3, Corey Coleman. I just think, and even they could have got Derrick Henry in the second round. I mean, they did get Emmanuel Ogbah, but they did have another second round pick before Derrick Henry was taken, I believe. And if they would have taken Derrick Henry, they would have absolutely lit up the season this season, I think. They don't have a great running back, but that's okay. I think they'll be all right this year, and then they'll improve steadily over the next few years. And I think, honestly, that they can be a playoff team. They'll have playoff potential. So the next team that I looked at for a pretty good draft was the Dallas Cowboys. The first pick that they took was the number 4 overall, and everybody thought that they needed a defensive player. But I actually love the pick that they made at 4 with Ezekiel Elliott, the running back from Ohio State. Everybody knows him. I think he is going to be absolutely fantastic. I thought he was going to be very good in the right scheme, and that he would be good with any team, but very good with the right scheme. And what better scheme is there than the best offensive line in the NFL at the Cowboys? He can just take the ball, first down, second down, and third down. He can catch the ball. He can do it all. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic in the NFL, especially for the Cowboys. I think he'll make a living at the Cowboys, even show flashes of Emmitt Smith. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the next Emmitt Smith, even show flashes of Emmitt Smith, though. And I don't think he'll be a Cowboy for life. I think that he'll be good for the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys will move on from him, or he'll move on from the Cowboys, whatever the case may be. But I think that he'll be very good for the Cowboys, and I love the pick. Now, they did take Jalen Smith, who, if you don't know, he is a linebacker from Notre Dame who got hurt in their bowl game last year, tore his ACL and MCL, I believe, and he had nerve damage done. So he's already been ruled out for the entire 2016 season. So they drafted him in hopes that he's just a very good future stockholder, I guess. Just hoping that he'll be able to play at the same level that he did, because he was very good. He was, I think, a top 5 projected player before he got hurt, and then he got hurt, and everything went downhill from there from him because of the severity of his knee injury. But they did take him in the second round, kind of took a little bit of a risk, I think. But as long as it pans out for him, I think it could be a great pick. The interesting thing about that is that the doctor who did his surgery on his knee was the Cowboys team doctor. And so he knows a little bit, I'm assuming he knows a little bit more information about Jalen Smith and his injury than probably most of the teams out there did. So I'm guessing that that's part of the reason why they drafted him. Not sure. I'm definitely no insider, but in my opinion, I can see that. Now, they did also shore up their backup quarterback position with Dak Prescott. I guess you could say they shored it up. He's very unproven just because he hasn't played in the NFL yet. I would personally take him over Matt Castle or Brandon Weeden, who they had try and fill in last year. And did they win like 1 game, 2 games with both of them combined? Or maybe they didn't win any at all. I don't remember. They were just awful last year. But they have a good team. They just got plagued by injuries last year, and they showed that they need a backup quarterback. And they need some defense, too. Dak Prescott, I guess they took him, to make the fans kind of shut up a little bit, maybe. I don't love the pick because in my eyes, Dak Prescott is the next Tim Tebow. He's a very good college quarterback. He's a runner, not much of a thrower, and I don't think he's going to pan out in the NFL. But if he does, I'm glad. I'm always glad to see people succeed in the NFL. I'm not normally one to write someone off and not give them a chance. I'll definitely give him a chance, but I definitely don't think that he'll be anything special in this league. If he does do anything, he'll probably start for a mediocre to bad team for a few years, not lead him to the playoffs, whatever, or be a backup for the rest of his career. I don't think he'll ever be like a starter for a good team in the NFL, but that's just me. Also, another interesting pick by the Cowboys was Rico Gathers. If you don't know anything about him, it's because maybe not it's because, but he hasn't played football since he was 13 years old. And he's drafted at the age of 21 or 22. So it's been a while since he played football, and you might be wondering, well, why did somebody take him then? Did he not play college football? No, he did not play college football. He, in fact, played college basketball. He was a power forward for the Baylor Bears, and he was very good his junior year and his senior year, which was this past season. Um, he mentioned that he wanted to switch to football or that he could be drafted in the NFL draft. And the Baylor team just kind of steered away from him a little bit and said, well, if you want to go that route, then we'll go a different route too, and we'll say, screw you. You're not going to play as much. You're not going to be a big figure in this offense or this team. So he did, in fact, go in the NFL draft, and I think he's going as a tight end. The dude is absolutely jacked. I can't wait to see him in football pads, and I think that as a tight end, I think he can be very good as long as he can catch the ball. I haven't really seen anything of him catching the ball. I have no doubts that he can block and block pretty well because he is a big guy, and I'm sure that if he does catch the ball, he could just run over people in a hurry. And I think he is like 6'7" or 6'8", so he's a big guy, like a tall guy, and he's very muscular. So that's a very interesting pick. But moving right along, we have the Broncos. The Broncos actually traded up ahead of my Kansas City Chiefs to take a quarterback, which is going to be their franchise quarterback. As you know, Peyton Manning retired, and Brock Osweiler, who was supposed to be the predecessor? Is it predecessor or predecessor? Whatever. He was supposed to be the guy who stepped in after Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning retired. Brock Osweiler had enough of the Broncos switching between he and Peyton Manning last year, and he went to Houston in the offseason for a big deal. So he's gone, and they didn't have a quarterback on their roster. So what did they do in free agency? They tried to sign a bunch of guys nobody really wanted to come, and they didn't trade for They didn't trade for Sam Bradford or for Colin Kaepernick, and they signed Mark Sanchez. Obviously, we know from the butt fumble and from last year with him in Philadelphia that he's not a very good starting quarterback. So they did trade up, and they got Paxton Lynch in the draft, who, in my opinion, is going to be either him or Jared Goff is going to be the best quarterback to come out of this draft. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be the best guy. He may be good, but I don't think he'll be the best guy out of this draft. This pick really disappointed me. I was actually watching the draft with some friends, and it said that I can't remember. Oh, Seattle. They traded up to Seattle's spot, and I said they jumped ahead. They're going to draft Paxton Lynch right here, and they said pick is in. Roger Goodell walked out, and he said they're going to take Paxton Lynch out of Memphis, and I was like, told you guys. What did I say? I told you. And then my Chiefs, actually, who were either the next pick or... No, I don't think they would have been the next. Maybe they were. They were a couple picks later, and they traded their pick away eventually, and I was very caught off guard because why wouldn't you keep your first-round pick? It was late first round, and they did get a third round, or a second round, a fourth round, and a sixth round for it. And then in another trade, they got like a third round or something, or third and sixth or something. But the reason why they traded their first round pick is because they were going to take Paxton Lynch in the first round with their 28th overall pick. And then Denver traded up, took Paxton Lynch, and they didn't really see a difference because they had like the third pick in the second round or something. So they traded out of their first round pick to get a second, fourth, and sixth. And then they just said that they didn't think they'd get anybody better from the first round. There's not like much differential between the late first round and early second round pick. So they just traded away their first round pick to get more picks, basically. Now, had the Broncos not taken Paxton Lynch and he had fallen to the Chiefs, I'm guessing everybody's saying that they would have taken him, and I would have loved that pick because I think in maybe 2 years, he'd be the starter and he'd be good. But they did take him. The Broncos did take him, and I'm guessing he's going to fill in right away and start for him. Now, the last team I want to talk about in the NFL for the NFL draft is the Buccaneers. So, the Buccaneers actually traded up in the second round to take a kicker. And from my understanding, I am pretty sure that he is the only kicker to be taken in the entire draft. So it's not like somebody was going to take him anyways, unless he's just head and shoulders that much better than the rest of the kickers. And people who were interested in kickers just said, if we don't get this one guy, we aren't going to take a kicker. I don't know. But they took him in the second round. Not only did they take him in the second round, but they traded up to get him. And he did go to Florida State. And Jameis Winston, who is the quarterback for the Buccaneers, and he did go to Florida State, actually backed him on Twitter, backed the pickup, I guess, and said that he's worth it. He's their best offensive player or something like that. So that was a little weird, I thought. I didn't think it was necessary for them to trade up, in fact, to get a kicker in the second round. But they did, and it's done and over with now, and I'm not the GM for them. So moving right along, we're going to go into the NBA playoffs now. So the playoff news, Cavs advanced 4-0 against the Detroit Pistons. I couldn't be happier because, to be honest, the Detroit Pistons really scared me. Andre Drummond really scared me because we don't have a big inside presence. Before the series started, I thought maybe Tristan Thompson could counter him. But then as the series, like as Game 1 and Game 2 came and gone, I kind of watched the inside matchup, and Drummond completely dominated Tristan Thompson, made him look like a little kid. Andre Drummond, in fact, has bulked up a lot since the last time I watched him play. But he is an absolutely atrocious free throw shooter, and that really plagued Stan Van Gundy. I almost said Steve Kerr. Stan Van Gundy and the Pistons and the whole game plan for him, because he couldn't be in late in games. He couldn't be grabbing those crucial rebounds. So the Cavs got, in Game 4 especially, they got a ton of offensive rebounds in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter that were just huge for him. So that's one thing, and I'm very glad that the Cavs got all the rest that they needed. J.R. Smith was absolutely lights out from the three-point line. Kyrie Irving was lights out from the three-point line. So that's all good signs. Kevin Love wasn't fantastic. He was good in Game 1, but then after that he wasn't really fantastic. But they did win 4-0, so they got plenty of rest, and now they'll be playing the Hawks in the second round. Since the Hawks beat the Celtics, they beat them in 6 games. Celtics showed. Is that the right word? Showed? Yeah, I think it is. I was thinking if there was a past tense word for showed, like shoe, definitely not shoe. I sound stupid right now. Anyway, the Hawks did beat the Celtics. A big disappointment for the Celtics was that Avery Bradley did go down in the first game, I think. Yeah, in the first game. Isaiah Thomas showed absolutely all-star potential in the rest of the series. He was lights out, scored 42 points in one game, I think, or 45, something like that. But yeah, that guy's very good. Shows that height doesn't mean everything in the NBA and basketball in general. But in the end, the Hawks did come out on top 4-2 in that series. And in my prediction for that series, I think the Cavs are going to win over the Hawks. They did beat them last year. They swept them. I don't think they'll sweep them this year. If they do, that's fine with me. But I think that it's going to be a maximum of 6-game series with the Cavs winning 4-2. But my prediction would be that they win in a gentleman's sweep, allowing the Hawks to win one game, 4-1 in that series. Also in the East, we have the Pacers and Raptors and the Heat and Hornets, both in Game 7s. For my picks, I think that the Raptors will probably beat the Pacers just because they're at home court advantage. You know, Drake's there. Toronto really struggled early in the postseason, and Paul George has just been an absolute god. Shows that he has no signs of slowing down since his injury was it last year or 2 years ago? It was definitely the beginning or the summer. 2 summers ago after this summer, because last summer he was healthy. He played the last 5 games of the regular season last year, but he was hurt all the way up until that. So showing no signs of slowing down after that injury, picked up pretty much right where he left off before his injury. But I do think that the Raptors will win that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pacers did win, though. I think it'll be a close game. And the same with the Heat and Hornets. I think I'll pick the Heat to win that game just because they have Dwayne Wade, Joe Johnson, Hassan Whiteside. Goran Dragic has been a bit of a disappointment, and so has Luol Deng. But I do think that all those guys, they are very capable of beating the Hornets in this series. I do think it'll be very close, but I do like the Heat to beat the Hornets in that series. Now over in the West, in the playoffs, you have the Warriors advancing 4-1 over the Rockets. I don't really want to get too much into that because, one, I think that ESPN talks way too much about the Warriors anyway, and two, I don't really want to give the Rockets the time on this podcast. Not that I have like such a great podcast, but they suck, to put it straightforward and bluntly. They straight up suck. James Harden's the only player on that team that looked like he even cared. Patrick Beverley cared on the defensive end, but nobody showed up on the offensive end. Dwight Howard clearly showed that he didn't want to be there, except for the one game that they won, and then I think it was game 4, or maybe it was game 5. I think it was game 4, because they could have tied the series at 2-2. They were showing serious signs of life at home. I thought they were going to win that game. Steph Curry went down with a knee injury, couldn't come back, and then the Warriors turned it up in the second half, and it was lights out from there. But that is a pause for cause and concern with Steph Curry being out, as they are playing the Blazers in the second round, because the Blazers did win 4 in a row and beat the Clippers 4-2 in that series. As we know, the Clippers, Chris Paul, one of the best point guards in the NBA, if not the best, broke his hand, and he's now out for the rest of the postseason because the Clippers are out for the rest of the postseason. But also Blake Griffin got hurt, so they really didn't have anybody on offense. They had JJ Redick, but he was kind of hurt. But yeah, they just kind of didn't have anybody. They lost all their superstars except DeAndre Jordan, if you want to call him a superstar. So they did lose their series to the Blazers, and I just really don't know about that second round matchup between the Warriors and the Blazers, because I don't think Steph will be back for that matchup, at least not until like May 9th or something. I think they said that Steph is reevaluated or something like that. So May 9th puts us like a week away. So I guess if it's not a sweep, then he'll probably play towards the end of the series. I just love Damian Lillard. He's a phenomenal scoring point guard. Plus CJ McCollum can score the ball, and they have big guys down low that can rebound. I just don't know if it's enough to stop the Warriors, because the Warriors are a very good team. I do not like them just because of Steph Curry, Draymond Green. I think they're two of the most cocky players in the NBA. Won't get into that, though. I'm just not a fan of the Warriors. But I do think that they are a very good team, and I think that they'll probably advance in 6 games against the Blazers. I'll give Damian Lillard and company 2 games against the Warriors. But I do think that with those 2 games, that'll extend the series enough for Steph to come back, and I think the Warriors will advance. Also, the Spurs swept the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round, looked very good, and they're headed on to play the Thunder in the second round, as the Thunder beat the Mavs 4-1 with the gentleman's sweep. That series is very intriguing because I do think it'll go to a 7-game series. I don't know. I think I'll take the Spurs in that series, but Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant and the rest of the Thunder offense is very inconsistent. At least in this postseason, they've been very inconsistent. And their defense, I don't know. It just seems like they don't know. They don't want to hog the ball, but they also want to get theirs. I don't know. It's just, I'm not in love with the Thunder, and especially I don't love them to win the Western Conference and go to the finals. But in other NBA news, I think it was yesterday or maybe it was today that they announced Luke Walton, who is the current Warriors assistant coach. He will be taking over the Lakers job. That's big, not really big news, but his dad, Bill Walton, who is a very good NBA player, and now he's an announcer for the NBA, he said the other day on Friday, I think, that he wouldn't, if he was his kid, he would, or if he could give advice to his kid or something like that, that he would tell him not to go to the Lakers, wait for a better coaching job to come up. But in fact, he did not listen to his dad, and he did take the job at the Lakers. I think it could be very interesting because I think he's a good coach, as he did show you with the Warriors. Um, that was a very good team, but I think that the Lakers have a lot of talent on their team. Plus, they're going to have like a top 3 pick this year, so I think that they're going to be very good at the coaching position next year. I don't think they'll be a great team, but I think they'll have a good coach in their hands, in Luke Walton, and I think that they could be more Laker-like next year. They won't be in like the top 5, maybe not even the top 10 for the draft. I don't think they'll make the playoffs though. It really all just depends on who they get and how healthy they are, and what the rest of the Western Conference looks like next year. So the next thing I want to talk about is what you can expect from this podcast. I am going to call it a podcast just because that's kind of the feel that I'm getting for it and what I really want it to be. So I'm thinking that it'll come out once a week, just because I don't think that there's enough in the sports world to talk about more than that time, more than once a week, without it getting super stale. Like talk shows get a little stale, especially if it's just me talking to the computer and you guys are just listening. There's not anything for you guys to watch on the screen right now, I understand that, but that's kind of how it's meant to be. It's just meant for something to listen to rather than something for you to watch. But yeah, I think it's going to be in more of like a podcast format, and I think it'll come out once a week. Right now, I think it's going to be Wednesdays. At least for the month of May, it should be on Wednesdays. Wednesdays seem to be my day off right now. But I only do have my schedule for May. So I guess it's kind of up in the air, but it will come out once a week. I'm going to try and do it every Wednesday, just because that makes it so much easier. And I really want it to be right around 30 minutes long. I don't want it to be an hour long or anything like that. We've been going for, 35, 36 minutes right now. So that's about right where I want to keep it, right around 30 minutes. If it's shorter than that, sometimes that's fine. If it's longer than that, that's fine. I just don't want it to be super long. I want it to be something that you guys can enjoy, something you don't get bored of because it's taken too long. But yeah, I really do think that this will be a fun series for me and for you, because it's just kind of like guys talking to guys here, just kind of chilling and chatting. Just talking about sports, something that a lot of guys are interested in. Even girls are interested in that stuff too. If you are a girl watching this, that's cool too. No hate on this channel. Check out the rest of my videos on my channel, because they are a lot of cool videos, and they're all like internet games, I guess you would call them. Just a lot of games that I've seen on other YouTube channels, and they've gotten good reviews and stuff. Pretty soon, I don't want to make any promises like by the end of May or whatever, but pretty soon I'll be able to have my Elgato. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I really am looking forward to it. And now that I have my job schedule for like the entire month of May, that really gives me like eyeballs to put on things. And I think I'll have my Elgato by then, which then means that I can start up multiple Black Ops 3 series. I'm really going to try and get back into the swing of the game battles things. 1v1s, 2v2s, stuff like that. Maybe even 3v3s. I don't know if we're going to do 3v3s. And then I can do Rocket League if that. And supply drop openings. I'm saving up my crypto keys for that. Let me know if you guys are interested in that. And then I do like a Q&A over commentary over a gameplay. And then, what was the other thing I was just going to say? What I'm doing right now is I'm going to get like a sniper montage, but get clips for that together so that when I do get my Elgato, I guess I don't need my Elgato for that, but I'll be able to make a Black Ops 3 video for you guys with a sniper montage, and I think that'd be pretty cool. Really looking forward to that. I think my first few maybe not, maybe I'll spread them out, but I do have some gameplays that are awesome from Black Ops 3 so far that I've gotten that I haven't been able to record other than just using the PlayStation, but then I can't upload it to YouTube. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I have those in theater, and so I would just do like a either a cut commentary or like an after action or whatever you want to call it commentary, not live commentary. So I think that'd be really cool. Tons of new series coming very soon. Hopefully this summer I'll be able to have a vlogging camera, because I really do want to do vlogs. That's something I really am interested in. Lots of things that we could do. Play basketball at the park. I play basketball a lot at the park, and we could just record videos there. Just day in the life, stuff like that. That all really interests me. And then my buddy who actually did go to the Naval Academy, he's coming back this summer, and we're planning like a trip for that. Plus, it's always good times when he's back, and we're planning like a camp out where we're going to play like neighborhood capture the flag in one of my buddy's neighborhoods, who lives like not really out in the middle of nowhere, but there's not a ton of houses around him, so it'd be super fun to record that. Just a bunch of awesome things coming in the future, guys. I'm super excited. Make sure you hit the like on this video, because there are a ton of things coming your way very, very, very soon, I promise. But yeah, hit that like button. Comment what you're most excited about, what you think of my idea for the podcast now, instead of just a talk show, because that's basically what it is. Leave comments down below what you want me to talk about next week in the podcast. I will record it on Wednesday, not on Saturday. It's just when I had free time this week, and I figured I could put it up and tell you about it. The whole format changes that I want to do. But yeah, like it for more of this. Comment what you want to see next week, and what you're most excited for, what series, because it's not just things that I'm talking about now. Like, I can actually visualize them. I have a vision of all these things that I want to do. So it's just a lot different in my mind, I guess. And make sure you hit that subscription button, just because there is all that new content coming towards you very, very soon. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be a blast. I promise you, I won't make your summer boring. It's going to be a fantastic time. So if you guys would hit that like, comment, and subscribe button, I would absolutely love it. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode of the Rap Podcast. I will see you guys next Wednesday for the next episode. Peace.
I'm telling you, I got it. Anybody thinking different, gonna get it. Futuristic, be that nigga killing every single city, grabbing titties, even if they itty bitty, leaving niggas shitty, drinking. Think I need another kidney? If you with me, say hell yeah.